Welcome back to the Python video programming series. We are going over data, and we're gonna data types in data in Python, and we're gonna really build our foundation here. This is a very important topic in programming in general, really, because this is a topic that we're going to use, the things that we're going to learn here, we're going to use throughout the entire series, and you're going to use throughout your journey learning Python. So if you can get this now, you're golden. You really have to get this now. So I'm going to try my best to explain it as nice as I possibly can. I even have a nice example that I think is very useful. So let's get started. Before I start my programs, I always like to add a comment just specifying what our program is and what it essentially does. And so this program, all caps, this program is intended to teach students about storing and working with data in Python. Okay, that's just kind of a one line. Doesn't matter. It's optional. You don't even need this, but I'll add it just for being neat. And then what we can do is we can start our program. So before I start, I want to just talk about what a variable is. A variable is a way for us to store data in math. We also use them in math. We can also use them in programming. Let's say I wanted to store a number inside of a variable. I can do so by essentially creating a variable and storing the number 3 or something like that inside of our variable. Now the special thing about a variable is that it can store different values at different points in our program. So for example, a variable name can store Sam at one point in our program, but it can store Bob in a different point. So that's an interesting thing. And variables, obviously, I haven't specified this, but they're not restricted to just numbers like they are in math. You can also store strings. You can also store Boolean types inside of variables as well. Let's get started with an example program. So let's say I have name, I have age, and I have gender specified here. Obviously, these are not complete, so we have these red lines red curly things telling us that we have some sort of an error because we have to specify what name, age, and gender are going to hold. So name can hold the name Bob, age can hold the age 40, and gender can hold the gender male or female. But the thing is, I'm not going to specify male or female just because it's you'll see later on why, but I'll just specify he or she, so I'm just going to do he for now. So Bob, age is 40, gender it's a he, or Bob is a he, essentially. Now let's say I wanted to print out Bob is 40 years old and he does not like to be 40, for example. So Bob is 40 years old and he does not like to be 40. So I can go ahead and print that, right? We've covered this in the previous video. Bob is 40 years old, but he does not like being 40. Save, print, boom. This is what we get. That's pretty cool. We have everything we want, and we have Bob, we have 40, we have he, all of that. However, let's say I change the age from 40 to 41 because it's a variable, can change values, and so we can go ahead and print this out. Let's see what happens now. We're still printing out that Bob is 40. However, he of course is not 40 anymore. But the problem with this is the fact that we're printing out a string. We're not using these variables at all. They're there. We're not using them. And so what we have to do is we have to remove all of this and we have to use the variables. But there are some important things you need to consider. If you want to use our variables, what you have to do is use something called concatenation. And concatenation is a way for us to combine two or more strings together. And so if I have the string Bob and I have something like Smith afterwards, I can combine the two using concatenation. That is, if I wanted to print out Bob Smith, so Smith is the last name, Bob, and I can obviously just do Smith like that, but I can also concatenate, and that's basically going to involve using a plus sign, and this is not to be confused with addition, and then Bob plus, and then Smith. This is completely valid. This is just Bob Smith, and so Bob and then Smith is being concatenated or glued together. And concatenation only works with strings, and that's why we automatically know that this is not addition. And Bob Smith is printed out. Now this is not very useful, of course, but when we have variables involved, it actually is. For example, remember previously we had the program saying Bob is 40 years old, but what if I want to change Bob to Sam or something like that? So it could change. That's why instead of saying Bob, I'm just going to say name, and then plus, and then combine that with another string and say that's is, but then once again we have the age, so I'm just going to do age, and there's going to be a problem here, but I'll talk about that later. Then plus age years old, comma, but, and then we don't know if Baba or whoever the person is a he or a she or a they or whatever. We doesn't want to specify, so we can just say they. But whatever it is, for now it's a he. We can just say but and then plus gender plus let's see, years old, but he does not like being, and then one more time concatenate age, and then we need a period, of course. Let me add that period. Looks rather complicated, right? But the thing is, this is very powerful because we don't have to change our strings each and every time that we're printing out. We can just change these variables, and we can use these variables again and again in our program. We just use it once here. So whenever we change these variables, it's going to reflect in our program. That's the power. So if I have like 300 different lines of Bob and or name, age, and gender, I don't have to change it each time. I can just go ahead and change the variables, and we're good. So let's see if this is going to work. Don't get all too excited. It is not working because of this. It says right here, type error, cannot concatenate str and int objects. Because, again, concatenation works with strings. It has to combine strings. But notice we have age and another age. They're not strings. So we have to use a typecast to essentially make them into a string, to convert them into a string. And that's using str. So str, a set of parentheses around age, is going to convert it to a string. That's pretty cool. So if I go ahead and print this out, should it work? Well, let me try again. Okay, so apparently there's still an error. Let me see if, oh, we haven't saved our program. My bad. Here it is. Bob is 41 years old, but he does not like being 41. We have like a space issue here. So let me go ahead and add a space after name. So I'm just going to add a space here. I forgot that earlier. Notice here, it's all working fine. Bob is 41 years old, but he does not like being 41. This is beautiful because we can literally change Bob to like Sam or something like that. And we can change 41 to like 52. And we can change he to she or something like that. And we can go ahead and run. Make sure you save. It just changes. It's magical. So if I wanted to go ahead and copy this and maybe not copy it. Let me add another print statement. And this time I want to just do name is awesome. And save. That's nice because it just says Sam is 52 years old, but she does not like to be she does not like being 52. Sam is awesome, right? We didn't have to change, if it was just a string, we'd have to change the Sam, the age, and the gender on the first line, and then on the second line, we'd have to change the name. And so it's kind of a hassle if we have like more than just 2 lines, if we have like 300 lines. And so that's why it's nice to first use variables. One last thing that I wanted to specify in Python is the fact that our variables, they can change, and they can even change not just values but also data types. What do I mean by that? Well, I can say name equals something else. Like for example, I can change it to Bob. And we've seen that, but we can also change it mid-program. So that is, after we print out all of this, it's still going to hold Sam, but then afterwards we changed name to be Bob. So now name is Bob. And so we can print this stuff out, and it's just going to be Bob instead. Go ahead and do that real quick. So save. So Sam is 52 years old, but she does not like being 52. Sam is awesome. Bob is 52 years old, but she does not like being 52. Of course, Bob is not a she, is what we are assuming in our program. So we can change that real quick to age. Let's just say Bob is also 52, but the gender is a he now. Oh, forgot to save it again. Let's click. Look at this. It works now. Now, in addition to that, I can also change what the data type is of our variable. Let's say that I wanted to change the gender from being a string to something else. For example, I can change it to being a Boolean type, and this is where we introduce Boolean types. Boolean types are essentially true or false types, where they can store true or false. They're very useful when you get into conditionals, so I'm not going to talk too much about them, but just know that they can store true or false. So if I change my gender to be true, this indicates that now gender is not a string, it's now storing a Boolean type. So if I can print stuff out, it's not going to affect all of this. This is going to work exactly like it did before, but I can print gender. I can do that and save. Go ahead. And this is going to be Sam is 52 years old, but she does not like being 52. Sam is awesome. Bob is 52 years old, but he does not like being 52. True. We have just changed the gender from being a string to being a type that holds Boolean values. So it's pretty nice. That is essentially the wrap of this video. We've been doing a lot of discussions, but this might be easy to you or it might be hard, depending upon your previous knowledge and just how quick you can grasp it. But regardless, just take your time and really try to nail stuff down, because it's very important. Some people learn faster, some people learn slower, but that's completely okay as long as you get it in the at the end of the day. So that's pretty much it. In the next video, we'll be covering and absolutely, finishing the conditionals topic. See you then.